Hello, we will explain in this video how to work with the tool in surveillance tab, namely how to compose key elements of surveillance system or edit existing ones. We go to surveillance tab, simply selecting tab name at the bottom of Excel tool, and we see two layers, two pairs of tables. First one is function name, so surveillance system functions, and we have table where we enter data here, and then another table on the right which automatically sorts entered values. For instance, we enter test, or let's say enter something a test and tell it's supportive, it will come and take second position in the list on the right, because that's a dynamic tool, and the structure, the lists, they are updated automatically. So if it's first time when a user opens the tool, he or she will find preloaded functions as key components of surveillance, VPD surveillance, and then activities or subfunctions which are part of each function. So the list of activities is here. So this again is the table where activities are entered, and on the right side activities are sorted. First, they are grouped, because when we enter activity we assign it to a specific function, saying that this activity is part of this function, meaning that this function to be fulfilled, this activity is needed. So on the right side here, first activities are sorted, and then in each function, activities are sorted on the left side and then numbered. We need to look at these numbers, because these numbers one day we will see how they really help to code or to produce unique codes of budget line items, but we will discuss it later in this specific tutorial. What you also may note is that some items, so one thing to remember, that we use these two tables, this one and the one below, we use them for entering data, and we see results on the right side. And it's obvious that this on the right side tables are in a gray color, which means that they are not useful for editing. You can also note that the let's say this entry, publishing report, taking sample, refreshing training, they are not colored, so their background is white. Why that? The tool helps you to understand which item in the catalog, because that's the first tab of the catalog, and we have more tabs in the catalog we will discuss separately. So if item is in the catalog, let's say refreshing training, and it's not used anywhere, and it can be used in two places, where we compose budget in planning tab, or we describe external funding projects in the tab project. So if these items is not used in any of this place, it's not colored. It means that you can change the way the text refreshing, so you can make this, and it has no consequences, because this content in this list and catalog is used to populate drop-down lists, so to restrict entry into planning sheet to only items which are here. And as long as it has not been used yet, you can use it. We can use it then in this version freely I can demonstrate it by going to the specific catalog. So let's go to planning, and let's add training as a function. So we can see refreshing training here as a function, right? The list. If we go back, let's change it back to the training. So you can see that we can go here, and then we can the planning. I think there was somewhere trainings use. You see introductory training. If we press it here, we will see refreshing training. So that's the way we change how we see things in the drop-down list. But we need to remember that after we used and selected the item from the drop-down list and we entered it here, we cannot easily change it back. So if we go this value in the catalog, so let's go to the catalog, and now we see the refreshing training is green, introductory training is white, because we replaced, let's say, introductory training. It's not used anymore in the planning. And now if I change it to anything, train, first it becomes white, because to recognize that this version, refreshing train, it's not used in planning. And then we go into the planning, we will see that this is in red, because to tell us that this is orphan record, meaning that this, the way the value is entered here, it's not anymore in the drop-down list. So if I press drop-down list, we will get refreshing train and not training. So we need to change it here to train. That's the way. So that's the procedure, standard procedure, that if we already have used any item in the catalog and then we change, re-edit this item in the catalog, so it's now it's written differently, we need to go wherever this old value had been used and replace it with a new value from the drop-down list. And the tool helps us to detect them, because tool shows these orphan values in red. So I will not replace it here. I will go back and put here training, and you see it becomes green because the tool recognizes that training is somewhere. It's not anymore here, not anymore red. I will put back to introductory training. So when we go now to surveillance, introductory training will be green colored, and refreshing training is white. So that's the way tool works. It's also interesting that if the same principle a little bit differently works with functions. So if we add test function and we say this function is core, because that's, you notice if you don't enter value in the second column, the tool doesn't recognize it yet, because you see the number is not it's not numbered here, and then it doesn't show up in the list here on the right. So let's put it supportive function, doesn't matter, test function. You see it takes now 5th position in the alphabetically sorted list. It's white. It white means that it's not used anywhere, because of course we just entered it and there is no function. Let's say test activity, and we assign this activity to test function. And now look what happened. Test function here became shaded but in darker green light. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that, it means that this function, this item in the function table, this item is used below in this tab only to generate another activity item, test activity. But it's not yet used in the plant, so somewhere else. So if I go now to the to planning, and I say that this is pertussis or bacteria, and then I say test function, and I say test activity. Now look, we go back, and this will be the same color as others, which means that it's used. It's not used only here, right here, but it's also used in the planning table. So again, I wanted to explain that items in table function, let me delete it here, go back, and we will see different color. Yes, because this means that the function text function was used to compose new activity, but it wasn't used somewhere else. Actually, it was not in the main place. That's how to understand the differences in colors. But now if I delete these two, you see test function becomes white because it's not used. It's not used to generate activity, and it's not used then, of course, in the planning or projects. We believe that the tool will come with 5 major preloaded functions, and there'll be very exceptional occasions when a country needs to add new function. But as you can see, there is enough space. There are more than 10 empty rows where you can enter any new function. Just to understand also generally that the tool has another interesting function. So in case you enter the same item twice, it immediately highlights them in red, saying that, sorry, the values are duplicated, because everything in this worksheet in surveillance are unique. We have unique names of functions, and we have unique names of activities. By the way, you have noted that I skipped one empty row and entered new function 1244. The tool is capable to ignore this empty row and still produce the list where 1244 goes in the first row. This is another feature of dynamic capabilities of the tool, where even for some reason, there should be a reason to skip an empty row, but if for some reason this happens, that's not a disaster at all. The tool still is capable to recognize new entry, but it's recommended to follow and use the first empty row, because maybe not in this case, but in other catalogs, every row counts, because it's not too much space there, and it's better to use. On the other hand, it also tells you that we can enter something here, and then you can return back, so it's no problem with that, and enter new function here, and you see both functions appears here. So it doesn't matter in which order. It's another way around, in which order you enter items in catalogs. Here in surveillance or any other catalog, they will show up anyway in alphabetical order in the tables on the right. Let me delete them. So as you can easily notice, the tool is protected, so you can delete here, but if I select them and try to delete, you will get error because it's protected. The list of activities also preloaded, but definitely it won't be exhaustive, or maybe most likely countries want to formulate it differently. That's fine. Countries can do it, and it's highly recommended that these catalog, as well as other catalogs, are revised and updated before you start entering data in planning or in projects, because every time you need to change something, you need then to check whether it has been used, and so it just takes it will be more hassle, so better. But we admit that the tool cannot be everything predefined, so especially first year when you work with it. So most likely there will be cases where a country needs to go back, add new activities like this, select function, press enter, and then it gets updated on the right side, right? That's how it works. I think it's pretty simple. but there are some hidden functionalities I wanted to demonstrate. The duplication also, if I enter lab diagnostics, it will be immediately read even before entering something here, because lab diagnostic was there, so it prevents you to make duplicates, and duplicates are not allowed. You can leave it as it is, but then you will get a lot of mistakes in summary tables, and the reason is obvious, apparent. Tool tells you whenever you see anything red, it means that something is wrong, and you need to stop, go back, and check why you are getting red cells. Thank you for staying with me through all this introductory first video tutorial. More will come soon. Goodbye.